Hey everyone, just want to make a quick video here for there was talk about wanting to see how to build walls for the event entry if we're considering the the model that we have shown on the deliverables list, which is the uh, 20 by 20 wide by 10 high by 60 long. um, and again, that's just a general reference. If you want to make it a different size, you want to make it a square, a circle, whatever you want to do, that's totally fine. But I mentioned being able to just use existing shapes in Dimension to be able to create those elements. And I mentioned using the cube, which is an easy way to do it. If you just click on if you have your image, I'm sorry, your file set up here, and you get a cube, just click on the basic shape, and then you go into your size here, and we know that if I want to look at this as it's going to look essentially as that long rectangular, almost box-like structure, I'm going to make it 20 wide, 10 high, 60 long. Okay, that's going to be pretty huge in this file, but we don't have a lot going on visually, so it's not going to be too complex. I'm just going to zoom out of that a little bit, get it to an angle that I want to view it at, and go from there. So what I'm going to do here, and that's just giving me a sense of that's the scale or the size of everything that those are the dimensions that you're going to be working with ultimately if you use that basic template from the deliverable. What I'm going to do here in order to make a wall is I'm going to make let's see this size here. I'm going to go about a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to keep the other items the same, so the height and the length stays the same. But what I've done essentially now is make a wall, and you can see the thickness there. It's decent thickness there, about the thickness of a wall, and you can eyeball that and make it a little thicker or thinner if you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select that. And if you have your actions palette open, you can option drag this, but you can also just click duplicate and then move that one over. And I'm going to bring that over here. This would be my other wall. And I want to do this, I think in the example we talked about it as being a, I've shown it as like a glass wall, essentially. And so I want to do that again here. And I want to make that a little bit thinner because a glass wall is not going to be as thick. I'll do 0.125 there, leaving everything else the same. And so when I see the two now, if I compare them, that's still, I could technically even bring that down more. I could go 0.075, for example, even thinner, and see that, okay, that might work for the thickness of a glass wall. And this is a little bit thicker than that. And if I want to make it glass, I can just quickly go to my materials here, make that glass, and we'll see the translucence there. Okay, the transparency, I should say. And now I brought that graphic in before with the X's and the triangles and circles, which was like a mock branded element for the examples I've been showing you, from sketches to elevations and into the models. So one thing I noticed, one thing you need to do is select your object and make it into a standard model. If I don't do that, what I've found is like when I go to place anything on that, if I go to File, I go to Import, I don't have the Place Graphic on Model option, but if I go to Object and I convert it to a standard model, now when I go to that, same deal here, I can import, and it gives me the option to place the graphic on a model. Okay. Now the graphic I'm going to place on there is this Illustrator file here. This is the wall basically at that same, the dimensions are proportional to the 10 high by 60 wide, and I've made it into a compound path here. So for example, if I was going to put a square behind there, let's give it another color real quick. Pop that there. I don't usually use the slider, but anyway. Now you can see that you can see through it. Okay, so it has the compound path in play between these. I brought this pattern in, overlaid it on the shape, selected both of them, went to Object, Compound Path Make, and I created the compound path, which allows us to see through that. So then when I go back to my dimension file and I go to place that graphic on there, I can see, first of all, it's going to be available here. I'm just going to bring in the AI file. And as you know, this is a mildly wonky process here, scaling this up, especially because this gets a little bit tall. And this, especially I find when you pull them horizontally, it gets a little bit wonky, but I won't necessarily go in and freak out about exact details right now, but that'll get us where we need to be for our purposes, okay? And the cool thing is you can see, because of the, I made the wall into glass is one thing, but I also made this a compound path so you can see through it, okay? Now for reference, if let's say I let's put a drop here. Oh, I already have one in there. Let's do this. Okay, so let's copy that one and bring that over to this side through the wall. And now if I look, I can see, just for reference, for visual reference, in fact, let me bring this one over here. A little more. Oh, look at that, I have 3. Okay, didn't need 3. But I mainly do this to show that you can see through the wall, you can see through that compound path, on both sides. So kind of a cool, it's kind of nice to see inside and outside, so making that one wall transparent is an idea. And this doesn't even have to be glass. This could theoretically be, I could turn this into more of a thin, maybe aluminum or brushed aluminum kind of scenario with this perforations cut through, so I could see right through. The trick there is when you get angles going on any kind of metal material, you got to watch out for sharp edges and all that. So especially if you have small kids running through here and sticking their head through there. But so that those practical considerations are always important to think about. And to make a back wall, it's basically really easy. You're doing the same thing. You could make another cube and start with the cube, or you could simply just, I'm going to click on this one here, and I'm going to again duplicate that. I'm going to pull that out here. And then I want it to be 20 wide again. And instead of 60 long, I want it to be 0.25 because I'm going to have it the thickness of a wall. And there's my back wall. Okay. And you can take the time to go through and align that. You have the alignment tool to help you with that as well. And I'd create the back wall here. One thing I would actually probably do for that is, and these aren't perfectly aligned, but if you go through and you can select everything and then use your, actually if I select all these objects here, you can use your align tool. Okay, and it'll take, you can take the time to get everything dialed in so all the corners meet and everything. But one thing I wanted to mention is that you, instead of creating that back wall, say you wanted to create a doorway, or even on this one, if you wanted to create a doorway, you could simply, if you wanted to, just create that shape to the same, dimension, proportions in Illustrator, and then take it to Photoshop and extrude it, and then bring it in as an OBJ as well. Or if you wanted to have some interesting, doorway that's not exactly a, just a rectangle or a square or something. I've seen some people doing arches, and you can do it, in your native program, bring it into Photoshop, extrude it, and then bring it in here as we've done it before. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of using Dimension and using the existing shapes to build out the entryway structure, and hopefully that helps. If you have any questions at all, just let me know. All right, thanks.